Hello and welcome to the Cyber1 YouTube channel. My name is Ray, and in this video we're going to install this little module into the back of Fred. This is a TCA 9548A I2C multiplexer, and this is going to allow us to run multiple NPU 6050 inertial measurement units. And when I say multiple, I mean more than two. So if you followed along the build from the start, you'll know that I've installed an NPU 6050 into the hand. There's also one currently in Fred's head, and I've got another one on his chest. And then once I've got the right hand done, there'll be one in the right hand. I'd also like to put one in the bicep. I may yet have to move this power supply. I'm not happy about the clearance. While I can program around it, an error in a program could result in the heat sinks on this colliding with the body and causing damage. But we'll see how it goes. There is room in the back that I can relocate it to if I need to. So I've powered Fred down, both his Raspberry Pis, and I've actually installed my Robot Lab 1.1.885 in the head, and I've still got 884 on his back. I thought I was updating them to the same version. Alright, so let's pull this apart so we can get access to his back. So this is the space in here where I want to install this. One of the things I am going to have to do is replace some of the cabling going up into through the neck into his head. There's just not enough cores there for what I want to do now. Now I've already removed some of the screws. So this ribbon is the one that feeds the servos in these shoulders. It's just a glorified servo cable extension plugged into a PCA 9685 over there. And this is the one that comes from the arm, and it has the I2C bus in it as well as power. Now in this case the power is 20 volt, so we'll be connected back into these connectors over here. These are, for lack of a better description, the computer control wires. So this one feeds power to switch mode power supplies for Raspberry Pis, and also for this device, which is a network switch. I've got a network cable running from Fred's head down and plugged into here. And then I've got a network cable running out to the back Raspberry Pi. The back Raspberry Pi is a 7-inch LCD screen as well on it. It's a touch screen, so it works with my Robot Lab. And my Robot Lab will support multiple computers. Alright, so let's get the easy part done and actually mount it up. So I am going to mount it this way. I think just here will work. Now to hold this board on, it's got 4 holes in the corners. So I'm going to use these screws. And these screws are a 4G 9mm long screw. To put those in, I'm going to drill a pilot hole using a 1.5mm drill bit. Don't need to go too deep for that. this neck cable is going to be the biggest issue. Now I did make all this nice and neat with tape around all the wires, which I'm now going to have to undo. Okay, so these are the power supply wires. So there's two sets of wires. The orange and green are the power for the Raspberry Pi, and the brown and blue are the power for the PCA 9685. There is a small switch mode power supply in the head, so that's actually, they've both got 24 volt on them, or 20 volt on them from the batteries. There's two power supplies in the head, one for the servos and one for the Raspberry Pi 4. Over here, and hard to see it behind all of the cabling, there's the 20 amp power supply which runs the servos on his back, and down here is another 3 amp switch mode power supply which runs this network switch and the Raspberry Pi 3 with the LCD on his back. So this obviously gets its power from this power supply. Now if I need to relocate this power supply, there is, knocking my light over. There is room down here for it, and one on the other side, because being an arm, I'm going to have two of them. Alright, so I made this cord up last night, ready. So this has the 4-pin plugs I need for here, and it has 5-pin plugs. This one with the red trace on it goes to the Raspberry Pi 4, and this one goes to the PCA 9685, and from the other side of the PCA 965 it daisy chains onto the MPU 6050 in the head. So I think what we might do is take the top off thread to gain better access. It's not exactly the way I thought I had it wired, but we'll work around that. And I have got Raspbian installed on this 32-bit. Okay, so all the wires come off the neck. Alright, so this is a USB cable to the the Arduino Nano located in his chest. My network cable. Two of my power wires go to the switch mode power supply in the forehead. That's the one that runs the Raspberry Pi. There are another couple of wires running forward and down to a power supply down the bottom down here, and that's the one that runs the PCA 9685 and all the servos in the head. And this is the cable that runs up through the neck. So I think the easiest way to deal with that one is to actually lift the head off. Screw here holding the neck on. That there is the, just here is the MPU 6050, and that's just a daisy chain plug that I made up. Oh, that's loose. That's the old cable out. Okay, so this ribbon is actually 10 coilers wide, and it's just connected in a straight row because that happens to work quite well with the PCA 9685. The red wire in this case will connect to 3.3 volt. We've got SDA, SCL. There's this GPIO that's not currently being used, and then we've got ground. Now I have bought that spare GPIO line down because eventually I'd like to tie them together to actually enable and disable the servos. That's going to have to wait until the Raspberry Pi service in my robot lab supports accessing the GPIO. At the moment, the only thing it supports is the I2C bus. Now, before I sit that head on, I might just reposition that servo. Make sure it's in the right position before we re-engage all the gearing. So that's set at 1500 microseconds, which should be center. I really didn't leave myself a lot of room in here. I think my battery's going flat. Yes, my batteries are going flat. 5 volts out of my 6 volt battery pack with no load. Grab some batteries. The servos can draw quite a bit of power, and if there's not enough power coming out of your batteries, they will do unpredictable things. Everything from just not work to stuttering and shaking and carrying on. Let's try this again. Much better. Much better. Okay. So this is the adapter for my NPU 6050. Now this one's easier to read the labels on. So the orientation's this way. So VCC is up this end, ground's at this end. My green wire in this case is the ground. So that gets plugged in like so, leaving that V plus pin vacant. So the one with the long red trace is for the Raspberry Pi. My positive line on that side, so it'll plug on top here. Now over on the other side I did have this set up, which is now being discarded. I could plug this on the other side, it might actually be easier to do. Bringing the skull back. There's actually a hole down through here, and I've been passing this audio extension cable down. It is a splitter type, and I've plugged a small external amp onto it so I can hear, and the secondary output I use for connecting to the computer for recording when he's talking. Now, In this build of the Raspberry Pi, I haven't yet configured the IP addressing, which is something I still need to do. Okay, so this is the power supply, and this one is my I2C. So the red goes to the end towards the end of the board on the inside row. It's going to refer to a diagram so I don't blow up my Raspberry Pi. These wires make it a bit harder. The green wire is my 0 volt, and so that means I plug it on like that. And what I haven't plugged in yet is the Raspberry Pi camera. And put the head back together. Okay, so before I do that, what I think I might do is actually reconnect the servo. While I've got easy access. So that's one end done. So for the other end, these are just going back to this board. I've got way too much cable here. I thought I'd need more up the top. So that plugs in here. This is the board I made up or assembled in the last video. And this one goes there. Alright, so that's getting the original two PCA 9685s back in and getting the MQ6050 up here all connected up via the I2C MUX multiplexer. So the next thing we need to do is connect this onto this plug here. So if you remember, the first three wires in this group are for power, and the last three are for power, or the ground. These two wires here will eventually get tied together, as will one of these get tied into that group. That's the shutdown for the PCA 9685s. I've got to make up a cable to go from here over to here. I thought I had one made up already. This one will work for now. Eventually I've got to add in the shutdown wire for it as well. Now, these two plugs here, left arm and right arm. So I need to plug this one onto this one. But I need to identify which of these are which. Okay, the best place to find where the order is for those wires is to look in the video description, because that's where I saved it. So we've got these three were power, then we've got VCC, SDA, SCL, output enable, the ground, and that was the alternate voltage supply, which we're not using right at the moment. So we just need those ones in that order. Except we just move this one over between the VCC and the SDAs. Alright, let's get a plug ready and we'll make that up. So, 4-way plug. I'll have to get some more of these soon. I put that one through the crimper again. This is the last one I did. Okay, to help prevent confusion, we'll just mark one end with some colour and one points up and connects into here. Okay, so for now I'm just going to join these wires, solder a little bit of wire on the end to connect into here, which is my power distribution for the servo power. So this is just heat shrink to help protect the joint once it's finished, which they might be a bit big. At this point it is 20 volts, so I don't want to accidentally short that one because it would allow a significant amount of current to flow. And that's the last thing you want to have running around in a robot is too much current in a wire. It can melt the wire and cause damage to the rest of the body. I don't like the way this one's run. I will rerun that at some point in the future. Okay, I just went back in so my switch has got power. And we'll look at putting the back cover back on. So the back cover in this case has my two switches. This switch here is set up to switch between which battery bank I'm going to be using. In this case I haven't actually got the batteries plugged in. That's on this. And these wires will connect to either side, so I can run my power supply instead. I'm just connecting straight on. That then loops around onto here and then connects back to supply power to the servos. I've tapped off these two terminals here to go through this key switch, and that supplies power to the computer side of things. And I do that so that I can kill the servos without killing the Raspberry Pis. Okay, so that's Fred's arm done for today. In the next video, I'm going to power him up and actually configure my robot lab to use the hand, use the head, and use the shoulders. And we should be able to take a reading from the two MPU 6050s that are directly connected to the I2C bus. If you like these videos, don't forget to click on like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you're notified when the next video is out. That's the kind of support that helps the channel a great deal and costs you absolutely nothing. If you'd like to support the channel further, then I do have a Patreon account, and you can join my long-term Patreons, VIPs Go Lucky and Lorenz Berger, as well as my builder Patreon Al Morales 45, in helping to support the channel. There's a version of Fred running on Discord, so if you'd like to have a chat with Fred on Discord live, then visit the Discord channel and join our growing community. There is a link in the description for Discord and for Patreon. And we will see you in the next video.